Hello, hello. So much going on. It's mental. We've spent a long time drifting off down the garden path with remote viewing lately, which is lovely and esoteric, right up my strata. But you know, I want to bring some other psychology into it, some of the other aspects that have been touched on before, and elaborate on some of the other stories, which brings me neatly into this arc, which is back to trading, back to the life exchange, and back to Bund trading. But we're going to break this down into a series of 5, okay? And the first one, I've got to be honest, I actually sadly really enjoyed putting this one together because we've titled this one "The Day the Pit Went Silent." And this is quite interesting, you know, this provoked a lot of old memories in me and emotions, and yeah, you know, it was kind of like exciting but scary times all at once. So I suppose it was like being a newborn baby. You didn't know whether to piss your pants or shit your pants, but either way you were going to do it, right? Anyway, there was one moment in the trading pit, and in the Bund's pit, I'm guessing, you know, this is a long time ago, on a really busy day, probably 200 to 300 traders in there, squeezed in, right? But there was a moment in the trading pit where all of those traders, however many there were, stopped shouting and just waited. We were packed in on a big figure day where they knew the shit was going to hit the fan. We were packed in there, shoulder to shoulder. I had my cards like this, little pencil. You know, it was ridiculous. It was a health and safety issue for sure, but that didn't exist 30 years ago. There was no space, no movement, and everybody was just silent as well, you know, before everything basically kicked off. And this was the Bund pit on a big figure day. Rammed. Everyone was in. Every local was in. Locals are the guys that traded with their own money, by the way. So we call them locals. And I was a paper filler. I worked for Garban Resources. And yeah, I just took orders and filled it, and that was it. Okay. So I didn't play with my own money back then. And I didn't play with the company's money either, because there were some people that were kind of hybrid. They kind of played with their own money, but they worked for a company as well. That was a little bit dubious, because sometimes, did you just front run your own company's order? No, really? Surely not. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And they were very, very good at it. But typically, I'm digressing because today is about silence in the pit, which is a really freaky situation. So, as I said, on those days, everyone showed up. There was no space. You were packed in like sardines. And, you know, we got sweaty and horrible and agitated. And people were pushing for position, and you're trying to hold your ground, you know. Now, you might not be able to know this from me sitting here all the time chatting to you, but I'm 5'10", and I'm not a massive geezer, and I never have been a massive geezer. So for me to hold my ground in the Bund pit, that was kind of like a war in its own before we'd even started. There was so many psychological levels to this. You could be peeling it back for the next year, right? But where you stood mattered, you know, because your guy directly stood behind me would be looking at our booth over there somewhere, up there somewhere, over there, because the booths were like on, let me get this right, like tiers, okay? So they were looking down to the pit. So you'd have guy here looking over the top of his booth and doing the hand signals, and then slightly behind and above would be another tier with another guy looking over. So they would be able to project down, look into the pit, hand signal, etc., etc. Okay, I'm kind of always constantly digressing because there's just so much information in my brain about this. But so that's kind of like why it mattered where you stood, and in front of you, you would have your locals. I think I explained that in the cross video that I did, where you'd have your guys that kind of looked after you and you looked after them. And then comes the lead up to the number. So it might be non-farm payroll, CPI, might even be a rate cut announcement. It might be an FOMC meeting situation. Who knows? Bundesbank, Bank of England, you know. But I tell you what, you could, what leading up to the number, you could feel it. The noise started to drop, not completely, but enough. People stopped messing around as well. You know, you could feel everybody starting to crank it into a gear. You know, everybody started to kind of sharpen their eyesights. Everyone became focused. Eyes on screens, eyes on brokers, eyes on the clock. Because everyone knows this number is about to move everything. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? The figure hits, and this is probably the part you don't expect, right? Nothing happens. Number comes out, nothing happens. 5 to 10 seconds, nothing happens. Pit pauses, okay? 5 to 10 seconds of absolute stillness in a Bund pit is like treading water for 5 minutes, right? Does that kind of give you an idea, a gauge, yeah? There's no explosion, no instant reaction, just processing. And everyone's thinking the same thing. What does this mean? Where's it going, right? So I suppose you could kind of call it like a like a confusion phase, right? Jesus. And then it starts, but not clean, not obvious, not for the first minute either. The truth of it is, you genuinely didn't know which direction it was actually going in for the first minute. Yeah, the price is jumping up and down, both sides getting hit. Buyers think it's bullish, sellers think it's bearish, orders flying everywhere. It is messy and it is very aggressive, okay? Like, this is full yang out, alpha male, even in the women, right? There wasn't many women on the futures exchange, but the ones that were down there, I can quickly tell you, you wouldn't fuck with them, okay? They were animals. And so we hit the explosion. The market finds a direction, and shit me, when it does, it goes. And it goes hard, right? It is absolute bedlam. The level of anxiety and panic is absolutely off the scale. People lose their shit fully on a fast market. Loads of shouting, loads of swearing, people getting pushed, through the pit. I would often get popped out of where I was standing. Sometimes you would have to jump up and launch to get somebody's attention to because you'd be trying to buy what they're selling, or you'd be trying to sell what they're buying, whichever, right? Locals would step in heavy, because they're looking for all these little nuances whilst people are shitting themselves, basically. And paper, what I was doing was scrambling just to keep up, right? And this is where people got caught. Because if you guessed wrong in that first minute, you were already behind. And behind meant losing money predominantly. And this is what most people don't understand. The market doesn't instantly move on the news. There was always a gap, like a window, where the entire market is trying to interpret the same information. That's why it feels messy. And that's why it looked random, but it's not random. It's decision making in real time. This is old school. This is when human beings used to do it. not algos. And this still happens now, You just don't see it in bodies anymore. Now it's CPI, Fed releases, liquidity events. But the structure is actually identical. Pause, confusion obviously, and then expansion. It's the same psychology, different environment, right? Absolute bedlam, that place. Absolute bedlam. But that is episode 1. The day the pit went silent. Episode 2 is going to be out in quick succession. I think I'll run these daily, so keep posted. More importantly, keep well, be safe.